Welcome back to a Timey-Wimey Pod, where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Haley.
And today we are discussing Series 15, Episode 7, Wish World. We have made it to the two-part finale. I can't believe we're already here.
I can't believe it either. It's felt like such a complete whirlwind, but it also feels like we talked about the robot revolution 10 years ago.
Ages ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready for some fantastic facts?
Yes, I am.
So this episode aired May 24th, 2025. A forever cursed date now, I feel.
Yeah, May 24th is now forever cursed.
It was written by Russell T. Davies, and oh boy, was it. It was directed by Alex Pillai, who also did Joy to the World, and he's doing next week's episode. I don't have too many fantastic facts for this, but here are just some things that I thought were interesting from the behind the scenes and Unleashed. So the first thing is that Ncuti actually asked Russell to bring back the Ronnie because he really wanted her to come back. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
I respect it.
The Bone Palace, which looks so cool, by the way, I can't wait to talk about it, was previously the robot chamber from Robot Revolution. Now that Jonathan Groff cameo that we will have so much to say about, despite it looking like they filmed it backstage during the intermission for whatever, he actually filmed that when they filmed Rogue, and they just pulled him aside for a minute and gave him those lines and had them shoot it.
Yeah, we'll get to that part.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But in case you were wondering, did they shoot that in his room? Did they shoot that, in the middle of the street? No, they just shot it, way back when during Rogue.
Really interesting to me because 80s Doctor Who had better effects than that, whatever that was.
Yeah. Okay, the beginning of this episode, it's giving Once Upon a Time. The whole start of this episode is literally straight out of Once Upon a Time. First off, like some hooded figure riding on a horse, Once Upon a Time. Evil woman wanting to do something with magic, Once Upon a Time. People turning into animals, Once Upon a Time. Mysterious baby, and like the whole the seventh son of the seventh son.
Seventh son.
It was giving Once Upon a Time. It's so crazy. Like, if I saw that scene out of context, I would have been like, what Once Upon a Time episode is this?
You're so right about that. It is so Once Upon a Time coded.
It's painfully Once Upon a Time. And that baby is creepy. That's a creepy baby.
Okay, I stand for babies, even ugly babies, because even the ugly babies deserve some love out there. Not this baby. This baby was so creepy. I sympathize with Conrad. When he was smiling yet grimacing, holding this child later on in the episode and saying, this
so
baby
real.
is terrifying. Literally my reaction.
Yeah. Oh, they got me again with the giggle. Every time. But yeah, that one, that was creepy. That was horrifying. I never want to hear that again. Thank you.
I think this is honestly the creepiest iteration of the giggle. Yeah. I think this is truly the one that got me the most. I thought the one that got me the most was like Lux or like, I don't know, other moments. No. This one got me. Mm-hmm. I am creeped out. Please take away the Pantheon from RTD's hands.
Get it away. You know who else I wanted to go away throughout this entire episode? Conrad. I wanted that man off my screen. I was like, get out of here. Go away. Though on the second watch, I do really love the interchange of him like reading the story and like Doctor Who. Like that is really interesting. And I was trying to, more so on my first watch, I was trying to like really listen carefully to everything he was saying. And I was like, is this important? Do we need to be paying attention? Like what is he trying to say? But what did you think about Conrad in this episode?
Okay, my thoughts on Conrad in this episode, initially I was confused, but that's just because I was really tired. And I was struggling. So when I rewatched it, I was like, okay, Conrad has this role on TV that he's telling the story of the doctor. How does he phrase it? Like the doctor and the big wish?
Doctor Who and the Deadly Wish or something like that.
Oh, that's what it was. Deadly Wish. And I find it kind of comical that later on in the episode, Conrad is like, all of this thinking, it's making me so exhausted. But just like the perfect thing to say for him, because it really just
Yeah.
encapsulates his character based on what we know of him previously in Lucky Day. So it's not too far fetched. Where if it was another character, I was like, oh, is that an effective wish world? No, I think this was just Conrad truly being forced to think constantly and talk constantly. I will say I don't really understand the connection with him saying anything about nice weather throughout the world. Like I still don't really get that.
Yeah, I there's a lot of things I think with this part I don't get. Will it pay off? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think the reading, like the Doctor Who books, quote unquote, was really funny and really camp. Also, like by the time you guys are listening to this, the reality war has already come out. So
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. One thing I thought was kind of funny that he was talking about like the doctor and his companions, and he said, but they would leave him to fall in love and get married and have babies. And I'm like, oh, maybe for like three of them.
No, literally, I'm like, first off, who got married besides Amy and Rory and who had babies?
Okay, there's so much to say about the doctor who is, I guess we could say, John Smith in this episode, and the life he has with Belinda. What did you think of that whole storyline and part of the episode?
Okay, my thoughts on them. Very cute in this made up world. They're a very cute
Yeah.
family. And I don't know, I could not get over Verada Sethu's acting in this episode, and really every episode she's been in this series of Doctor Who. Something about this episode, though, just really, her performance spoke to me more than a lot of
Mm,
other moments for some reason. She was absolutely incredible in this episode. I always love seeing a version of the Doctor and a domestic life in an
me
alternate
too.
universe. I always love that plot line in Doctor Who and in other shows. I live for it. But I don't know what it was about this episode. It just didn't click for me the way other alternate universes have in the past, like the Human Blood two-parter or Turn Left in Series 4. That was obviously Dr. Light, but like still like similar concepts. I just
Yeah.
didn't feel that same love here in this episode.
I think one major problem is kind of a lack of characterization for this version of the Doctor slash John Smith. Because I did find myself kind of comparing it to Human Nature Family of Blood, which maybe isn't fair because, the situations are very different. But in Human Nature Family of Blood, we do kind of understand more about that John Smith, and we get
Mhm.
insights of into his character, how he's like the Doctor, how he's not like the Doctor. But here with this John Smith and Wish World, we don't really get that. It's kind of just giving it's the doctor, but it's not, which I again like is kind of the point, but it's really hard for us to kind of connect with anything that's going on and like understand. It all just feels very very plastic, very fake. And it's supposed to be fake. This isn't real, but I think that's what makes it kind of hard to connect with them and really it does kind of slow down the episode in a way. Like the moments I really like are the very human and real moments between John Smith and Belinda, like when he's getting taken away by the police and she's apologizing, he's apologizing. It's very dramatic. And later on in the episode, I'll talk about this more later, but when he's like, I have a lot of doubts, but I never doubt you, Belinda. Like those are really great moments between them. And I don't know, I guess I would like more characterization specifically from John Smith. I think we do get it a bit more of with Belinda. We see her talking to her mom, and the whole scene with Poppy, which we'll get to, and then her like crash out in the woods, which is really great and also really funny. But do you know what I mean?
No, you make a really good point. We don't even really have even 30 seconds of some background characterization of this version of John Smith. I don't think we even need a ton of time devoted to that, but you're
No.
right. Having just some added characterization between him and Belinda and him specifically would have definitely added a lot more and would have made it way easier to connect. I think it's hard because when I was watching this episode, I'm like, obviously I connect to these characters because I've been watching them all
Mm-hmm.
series long, but
Yeah. I think the episode really suffers by not letting the doctor remember earlier on. I think if he got
I
his memories
agree
back like halfway through, or even just part of his memories, more flashes, kind of like what Ruby's going through, I think that would just be better.
completely agree.
But we do have to talk about the outfits. I love
Yes.
like Belinda's robe moment, very cute. And her yellow skirt and cardigan. I love that yellow's her color. It's perfect. She looks great in it. And I'm obsessed with the doctor's like pinstripe suit. I think Shuti looks so good in it. It's great.
No, the outfits, I will say, like, I love the outfits. I love the sets. I think the design of this episode and the aesthetic was really, really great. And I think
Mm-hmm.
something I've noticed across media is kind of in these like dystopian moments in a TV show or a movie, it's very like 50s inspired in terms
Yeah.
of everything. And so I always like that aesthetic. So I think all of that and the colorization of the episode was really well done. And when I first watched this episode and I kept watching and hearing all these mugs breaking, I was so confused. Were you as confused as I, or were you actually forming coherent thoughts when you were watching this episode?
I wasn't confused because I was like, oh, like for some reason in this alternate world, like the cups just don't stay on the table. Like that's the glitch. There's always a glitch in the fake
Mm.
reality, and this is the glitch here.
Oh yeah, I get that now, and I got that immediately on my rewatch again. I think I need to just not watch the show when I'm that tired because I was
Yeah,
really tired. I just didn't want to be spoiled.
I
So
know.
sorry. Sorry guys. I did kind of notice though with the mug slipping kind of was a metaphor for doubt.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And it did kind of feel like once someone started to doubt, a mug would break, which was
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
I will say, like, this whole episode is giving Don't Worry, Darling. It's giving WandaVision.
Yes.
However, not as good. I hate to say it. Not as good. I don't know why. There's something, and maybe we'll get more into it as we keep talking, but there's something that's just not really working throughout this episode. I think it's just taking,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do know what you're trying to say, but it's hard for me to also find the words. But I feel exactly like you do. I think it's a combination of things. We have such a focused opening to this episode. Like, once we're past the whole Ronnie riding on a horse thing, like that whole scene, once we're past
Fun
that,
time.
and it's, yeah, once upon a time, once we're past that and we're in the dystopian wish world, it's just that and
Yeah.
focus on that. And then all of a sudden, it's this switch to the Ronnie and the Bone Palace. And then we're suddenly like with the storyline with the Ronnie. I think it's just very two different things. I
Mhm.
don't know. And it's such like a switch up from the end of the last episode.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe the reality war will kind of help things, but there's just something that's not as compelling here as in something like WandaVision or even Don't Worry
Mm-hmm.
Darling. Like if we're playing with this kind of alternate reality matrix, something is wrong. The tables don't do that. Like I don't know. I think there's just something missing here. to really make it work. And maybe that is kind of down to the characterization of John Smith, because we are supposed to be following him. But I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. But we need to talk about my girl, love of my life, my best friend, Ruby Sunday.
Girl was going through it yet again in this episode. Can we talk about how this is now the third time since the last series that Carla and Cherry do Ruby so dirty.
I know. It is crazy. Like, they really didn't need to do that. Like, every time Carla has to, like, turn against her daughter. And just like, this girl never gets a break. Ruby Sunday never gets a break.
Let me just outline a list of things. First off, in her first episode, the church on Ruby Road, she's erased from existence by the goblins, and Carla just completely forgets her. Okay? We have that. We have Ruby live through an entire life in 73 yards without the doctor, with a woman 73 yards away, which keeps literally everyone, like, keeps her from forming a relationship with anyone. And then we have her in this episode, and then back in Lucky Day, she was dating Conrad, who was the biggest loser in the entire world and completely tricked her. Why is it all on her, falling all on her?
It really is. Like, girl needs a break. She needs a vacation. She needs something, but my poor girl keeps on suffering. But when she showed up at that door, I was gagged. I was so excited to finally see her and the doctor back, and like her and Belinda. That was so exciting. It was too short. I really I can't wait to see more of the three of them. But yeah, it was so great to have her show up. Though I am like, why did she show up there? Like, she remember.
Yeah.
It's very confusing because her and Shirley and other characters, like, they remember but they don't.
Yeah, okay. So here's my thing. So my theory is that the reason why Ruby remembers is because she's literally been like the whole goblin thing and then the whole 73 yards thing. So she has kind of this alternate universe experience, and I think that's why she remembers. And I think why Shirley and everyone else in this episode who's shown who are disabled remember or just see these glimpses out of the corner of their eye of a better world is because they're invisible and they're on the bottom level of society and they're completely ignored. So I think all of that makes sense. What doesn't make sense, though, is why the doctor wouldn't have any small inkling of remembering anything at any point until the very, very end of this episode. That's a big problem for me, is there's not these like small cracks here and there where the doctor is remembering something.
Yeah, no, I do completely agree. I think it was interesting what Shirley says at some point, or it might have been someone else, I can't remember, but they say like, because Conrad doesn't see us, like, we almost kind of slip through, and that's why they can kind of remember, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, it's definitely crazy. Like, you would think that singing Ruby would trigger more of a reaction. You would think, being at unit, seeing Kate, that would do something. And then it's not until he sees Rogue, but even then he doesn't really. It's very it just, I wish they had him remember earlier on, or just had him remembering some things, because it's just annoying to have it dragged out until the very end. Like, even that scene later on in the Bone Palace with the Ronnie, and she's like, the seal of Rassilon, remember? And they're doing the whole dance, and it's like, remember? And it's like, can we just remember? Like, come on.
Yeah, and for example, bringing up the Family of Blood two-parter again, the whole thing with John Smith in that second part, it wasn't him just not remembering anything. It was him facing the internal battle within himself on whether he wanted to become the doctor again, because John Smith truly existed, and there was that back and forth. There was that argument. There was that whole dynamic, which made those episodes really good and really thought-provoking. But in this episode, his remembering is just dragged out. There's no like back and
Mm-hmm.
forth. There's no him questioning anything. It's very much just drawn out. And I think that's what my biggest problem with this episode is.
Yeah, I agree. There are just so many moments where knowing the doctor like we know the doctor, you would think that things would just slip through more.
I mean, the Ronnie, they say that Conrad wished this whole world into existence, and they've used the Vindicator that the doctor was using all season long to boost the power of the baby, the god of wishes, to create this whole world. And they, the Ronnie says, like, doubts are the whole point. As doubts
Mm-hmm.
continue to increase, more and more cracks in this world happen because it can't sustain itself. There are glitches. My question is, why does it have to be like this wish world where this happens? Why can't it be like the real world?
Well, I think it's because they have to like break apart this reality, but I think it's harder to break apart the real reality. So you have to make a fake
Oh,
reality to break the reality.
okay. All
um,
right.
yeah, but it is really interesting. Even though they like need doubt, doubt is viewed as like a bad thing in this world.
Yeah.
And anytime someone has doubts, they get the police called or people freak out. Like that scene between the doctor and Ibrahim at unit, genuinely like so scary. Like my heart like dropped to my stomach watching that because it was just so out of nowhere and so jarring. And like Shuji played that really well because I could feel the fear he was feeling. And then later on, when they see the Ronnie and he just says, I wonder who she is, and everyone freaks out, and he has to be
Yeah.
like, no, like she just is. Like she just is. It's okay. Really interesting.
Very interesting. I'm going to be honest. When I saw the Ronnie on her, board flying through the sky, do you want to know what that reminds me of?
Oh, what?
It reminds me of the Green Goblin on his hoverboard from the Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. I don't know if you've seen that one, or if anyone listening has seen that one. That scene, by the way, from Spider-Man is like ingrained in my head because I was so terrified of the Green Goblin on his hoverboard, but that's immediately what I thought of. I was like, okay, she's in her Green Goblin era,
Green
flying through
Goblin
the
era.
sky.
That's really funny. I love that. The scene where Belinda is talking to her mom and they can't remember Poppy's birth or when she was born, that was also really good. That was really scary
Mm-hmm.
because imagine just having this like whole child and you can't remember when you gave birth to that child or like anything that happens. Yeah. What did you think about that scene?
That scene has honestly stuck with me just because you're right. It's so scary for Belinda to even have those thoughts. And yeah, it's haunting to think of that, especially because in this world, her and John Smith truly believe Poppy is theirs. And so it's crazy to watch. It's also crazy this is how we're introduced to Belinda's mom and her
Yeah.
nan. Yeah. And at first I was like, where's her dad? And then I was like, oh, her dad's probably working because also in
Mhm.
this world, women are very much raised to just be good. Good
Yeah.
baby, good child, good woman, good wife, good mother. And I don't like that at all.
Yeah, one line that I thought was really interesting was when the doctor and Belinda first wake up and she's like, "Stay." And he's like, "I have to go to work so I can make money so we can have a happy life." And like
Mm-hmm.
that was also just such an interesting telling point about this world that like money is directly tied to happiness. And yeah, just like they have to stay home, the women have to stay home and be good wives and good mothers, and like the women that are working like Kate, it's like, oh, poor them, like it's embarrassing that they
Mm-hmm.
have to be working. And I love the line from Mel how she's like, well, as a single woman, like I'm just gonna sit in silent joyful contemplation. And it's just, yeah, all the things about this world. And this society and how it kind of just reflects like how certain people in our world think and just the past and all these things. It was really that I found really interesting.
Yeah, I found that really interesting too.
I want to hear from you what you thought about a little bit more about the Shirley stuff and the encampment that her and a bunch of other disabled people were living in.
I love a good resistance moment and movement in a Doctor Who episode. And I love that like the resistance in this episode was comprised of people who are disabled. I found that cool, and it felt very genuine, because even in this current world, not in Wish World where everything's 10 times worse, but in this current world, a lot of people with disabilities, like myself, invisibility is still a really big problem and a really
Mm-hmm.
big thing in the real world. It's something I've experienced in the past and I continually experience. And I always hope that changes and evolves and people, become nicer, more aware. But I found it poignant that they focus so much on it in Wish World, because in Wish World, when everything is worse for women and for disabled people, of course, they're going to be on the bottom of the totem pole. They're going to be completely ignored, because to people like Conrad, they essentially don't exist. They
Mm-hmm.
exist like they don't matter, which is obviously not true. So I like that they focused on it and focus on that's kind of why they were able to see glimpses of a prior world out of the corner of their eye. They were able to have these doubts and build up this resistance to really try to stop all of this and to block the signal of Conrad, because at that point they all were operating under the thought it was all just Conrad and not the Ronnie or anything. So yeah, I liked all of that. I think they did it well, and I like that Ruby joined them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool, and I love that they were working together.
Me too. I love when Shirley says, "We're not just sitting around complaining, like we're
Mm-hmm.
doing something about it." So I thought that was great, and I hope we get to see more of that next week. I also love the moment where Ruby says, like, Conrad is a monster, and they all cheer, and I just
Yeah,
thought that was a great moment.
so great. Everyone uniting over a despicable man.
Mm-hmm. Okay. we gotta we gotta talk about this rogue cameo.
All I have to say is stay away from her and get a job. Go away.
Okay, let me just start by saying, like, in case you haven't listened to our rogue episode, but also like I don't know what I said in that episode, but so my thoughts now. I like the episode Rogue. I like Rogue as a character. However, seeing him here just really pissed me off. Why is he here? Why is he here? What is he doing here? And why is he the person that is like breaking through to the doctor? First off, how does he know about what's happening? How does he know about the table? How did he get FaceTime in hell? Why does it look so bad? Why is he here? What was that? Why Rogue? Out of anyone, you could have had it be Susan to break through to him. You could have had it be Ruby. You could have had it be literally anyone, and you chose the guy that the doctor met for like an hour last season.
It would have made so much more sense for it to be Susan, because a
Mm-hmm.
flash of Susan happens immediately before the Rogue
Yeah.
cameo on the TV. So what was the point of Susan being shown on the TV in that moment? Why Rogue? Like, so random. 15 literally tracked Belinda down after a villain, Conrad, told the doctor Belinda's name. Like you, I like the character of Rogue. I like the episode of Rogue. The Doctor in Rogue? No. Just stop.
Having
There's like
him say I love you was actually insane because why?
I
Why
mean,
does he love him? They knew each other for an hour. Also, like, if I was Rogue, I would hate the doctor. Like, Rogue
mhm.
sacrificed himself, was like, find me. And you know what the doctor did? He didn't try to find him. He didn't even bother to try. He said, too hard, too much work. I'm not gonna try to find this man. So really, you should hate him. You should hate this man. You should not love him because why? It was just so crazy. It's like, Russell, you're doing too much. You're doing too much, and it doesn't make sense. It's not working. It's
Mm-hmm.
bad writing. It's bad characterization. It's bad. Why are we doing this?
When everyone collectively has the same reaction to Rogue, that's when you know you have a problem as a writer. And I know there's people who feel the opposite about us, but for most of what I've seen, it's people who feel the exact same as
Yeah.
we do about this cameo. Like, it's just so random. And there's so many other things going on. It's like, why him? Why is he the one to break through to the doctor and make him contemplate tables and how tables just don't do that? Like, why? Anyways, I
Tables don't do that.
do that.
It's so
Like,
funny.
no, it's so funny and so random. Such a Doctor Who quote, too.
Completely.
So we've talked about Rogue, but we skipped over talking more about a really important character in this episode, and she's iconic, she is a legend, and she is the moment, and her name is Poppy, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Poppy is so cute in this episode.
I want to meet Poppy so bad.
No, she's so cute. I love the like face she makes at the breakfast table or the table in the scene with Belinda's mom, where she's kind of sussed about like what's happening. And she's like, she's just so cute. They picked a great little baby actor.
Also, she is the realist in this episode, in this Wish World like universe.
Totally.
She, every time someone brings up May 24th, she literally says no and then a mug breaks. And I just have to say, iconic.
Now, without getting too much into theory territory, because ideally by the time this episode comes out, we'll know. But what did you think about the ending with the doctor, falling down on the balcony and being like, Puppy is real. I have a daughter. Do you know what this means? What did you think about that?
When I first watched this, I thought he was seriously just still really confused. And I think there's definitely more to Poppy now.
Yeah, I definitely think there's something going on. I don't know what, but I am intrigued to find out where that goes. But in terms of like judging it on a cliffhanger ending level, I thought it was really interesting, and can't wait to see how the doctor gets saved from that falling balcony. That's gonna be rough.
Going back to the Wish World, as 15 is having his doubts, Belinda reports him, and this scene I think is like one of the standout scenes from this episode, just because of how emotional it is. Belinda is like, I didn't want to do this, but we have a child upstairs and I want to keep her safe, as any mother would want to, like, keep their child safe. And you have 15 being carted away, just saying, I just asked a good question. That's all. I just asked a good question. And then immediately after that, when Belinda is taken by Mrs. Flood and she joins John Smith, it's just heartbreaking to watch in that moment because they're so convinced like Wish World is their reality.
No, and Shuchi and Farada really kill this scene. Like, I love John Smith being like, I'm sorry, I couldn't stop it, like, I'm sorry. And Belinda's like, I'm sorry, like, I have Poppy to think about, blah blah blah. And then Anita Dobson just comes in and delivers like one of her best scenes on the show so far. She's like, that's what doubt does, and it's my job to stop. Like, she kills it. I thought that was great. And yeah, when the doctor gets taken away and then Belinda has to get taken away, and I think they don't say it, but I think we're supposed to understand that it was Belinda's mom that called on her. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Really? No, I thought they just called her mom to come in and watch Poppy.
Yeah, but then her mom was like, I'm sorry. So I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I think my favorite moment from this episode is when they're in the Bone Palace and they have to go through that like looking glass wall thing for some reason, which I guess is where the line, because the Ronnie says at some point like the Bone Palace is a fixed point, and I think it's like past that looking glass where it becomes a fixed point. Whatever, doesn't matter.
That makes a lot of sense because I was really confused by that.
Yeah, me too. And then I was like, I kind of, I don't know. But I really love the moment where the doctor goes through and then he's trying to get Belinda to come through. And one of like the sweetest and like most emotional lines, like Belinda's like apologizing for reporting him, and the doctor says like it's my fault, and then he says, I have my doubts, but I never doubt you, Belinda. That kills me. That kills me. Literally so good. Such a good line and makes me so emotional. I never doubt you, Belinda. Like stop, just stop. Kill me right now. Such a good line, and whatever this duo is, whatever their dynamic, like I just think it's really sweet, and that line is really special and powerful. And I do love that no matter what is going on in this world, like they do kind of have each other, and you can see like John Smith and Belinda, like they do love each other. They are very like happy, and that love is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that love is totally there in every reality, and that's what I love about this duo.
And then he says, whatever's going on, they'll find out together, which just reminds me of their moment at the end of Lux. And I love it.
Okay, when the Ronnie pointed out the seal of Rassilon, I don't know why, but I got really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, Rassilon, what are you doing here?
I feel like Rassilon is like constantly name dropped.
And like never shown.
Yeah, very rarely.
Yeah, but we find out the Vindicator, which I clocked this in our last podcast episode.
Ooh.
I theorized that the Vindicator would be used to make the world implode, and it is. It's a part of the what I call the Wish World clock.
Also, that clock is so cool.
It's actually really cool, and I really love it. I love the whole Bone Palace design. I think that was done really, really well. I like the mysteriousness between the Doctor and the Ronnie, and what is their true past?
I know, people are really upset, but that really doesn't bother me, because like we, even from watching the Ronnie's episodes, like we don't really know their past. Like who knows, anything could have happened. I don't know, I thought it was interesting. Also, like it doesn't say either way. She's like, do you remember, like this is what people said, do you remember if that was true? I just thought that was really interesting. And when I love the Doctor's reaction when she finally says who she is, that she's the Ronnie, like his reaction, the way he just stumbles back and is shocked is great. Like even though he's not fully remembering things, like he knows kind of what that means and that it's not good and it's shocking, and I think he handled that really well.
Oh, he handled it so well, and I love that we have the Ronnie flashbacks, which, side note, we have so many flashbacks. We have 73 Yard flashbacks, we have Conrad flashbacks, Ruby in general flashbacks, we have the Ronnie flashbacks, the Omega flashback kind of with all the doctors towards the end. There's a lot.
Yeah, I do love seeing all the doctors. Like once again, I'm sorry, I know that you do it all the time, but I do kind of love it. I eat it up every time. I loved seeing again Christopher Eccleston at the end of Rose. That specifically made me really, really emotional. I do love that. I understand the criticism over the flashbacks. It is a lot.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense in this kind of episode, because we're seeing the flashes that people are getting. I loved seeing the flashes of 73 Yards. That was a gag. That was interesting.
Completely. So happy that they put those in there.
Yeah. Is it a lot? Yeah. Like seeing like the Ruby and Conrad flashbacks, I'm kind of like, okay, like we get it, but I'm okay with it. I kind of like a good flashback. I hate to say it.
No, I love a good flashback too. I think the only one I would have taken out is the one of Conrad. He doesn't need any more screen time.
Yeah, too
But all of the
much.
others, I felt they were pretty reasonable. And as long as like there's not constant flashbacks in the next episode, which I don't think there will be, it's really not that big of a deal. Now, I have a question for you because a lot of people had criticism that the Ronnie reveal happened mid credits at the end of the Interstellar Song Contest. Do you agree with them or disagree with them? What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I'm fine with it. I feel like I can be a better judge of it once we see next week's episode and understand the full story of what they're trying to do. But definitely just with this episode and like having that at the end of Interstellar, it makes sense. There's no way they could have really fit that into the start of this episode and had it make sense.
Yeah.
So honestly, I like it. They probably shouldn't have done the mid-credit thing because I
Mm-hmm.
think that bothered people and some people missed it, and so they shouldn't have done that. However, I liked it and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same. Like it could have been better if it wasn't mid credits, but I did like that the reveal was out of view of the doctor. Like the doctor had no
Mm.
idea. But I think because there's that reveal and then the first time we see the doctor in this episode is in Wish World suddenly, it's just a big jump. It's not like that big of a deal to me. And again, I feel like
Hmm.
my feelings and thoughts are bound to change depending on next week's episode, which I'm nervous for. I think we all are. And so we will see what happens next week. But
I really
genuinely,
like Ronnie's Sonic. I just want to say that.
oh, it is amazing. I love her Sonic so much.
Okay. Also, I do like the effects of everything like falling. I thought that looked really good. I don't care what people
Hmm.
say. The CGI was not bad in that specific moment. I thought everything kind of like falling apart did look really interesting.
It did look really interesting. And I do kind of find it funny that Truly just pulls out an iPad and she's like, it's a relic from the other worlds.
Yeah, that was like okay,
Yeah, like
okay.
how did that survive everything? Like I know there's glitches, but why an iPad?
Yeah, like I wish they kind of added that more throughout, that some things from the real world have fallen
Mm-hmm.
through and some things are out of place, and maybe that's why some people have doubts. But no, thank goodness this random unit iPad survived everything.
Yeah. Also, Unit in this episode is the Unified or United National Insurance Team, and I just found that really funny.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, because of
Um
course Conrad doesn't want Unit to exist. He doesn't want the Doctor to exist in his world, and that's why Mrs. Flood and the Ronnie chose him because they knew
mhm.
his world would be without the Doctor and without Unit.
Okay. What did you think of that Omega reveal?
My exact reaction was literally me shaking my head. I wish I could have been gagged with this reveal. I wish I could have been like, Omega, who the heck is Omega? For months I have seen people theorize that Omega would be returning and that would be the big bad at the end. And I thought people were just theorizing random things, but it turns out they were theorizing leaks that they saw.
You and I had actually talked about this theory mere hours before watching this
Mm-hmm.
episode, and I was like,
Yep.
no, they're not gonna do Omega like and the Ronnie. But no, they are. I literally, when that happened, I similar reaction. Like, okay, I think bringing back Omega would be interesting. However, I kind of just wish this was just like the Ronnie story. Like, we've been waiting for the
Yeah.
Ronnie for so long. I kind of wish she just was having her own moment, but it's kind of hard to judge it right now when we don't
Yeah.
have the full story. So I'll kind of wait. Is it worth bringing back Omega? As someone who's like a loose classic Who knowledge and like a loose understanding of who Omega is, also like the name change, because in classic they say Omega, which I don't know why they say it like that, but now they changed it to Omega. That's Okay. Okay, sure. Okay, sure, why not? I guess.
I
But
think it's just like having yet another reveal where it's just like,
we just
girl,
have so much to
there's
do
so
next week.
much.
We have so much. It's a lot. It's a lot. But
It's a lot. And also, Belinda just disappears, like literally, like vaporizes. Like, girl, where did you
yeah.
go?
Yeah, that's why I think that that window is kind of marks where the Bone Palace stays a fixed point because she
Ooh.
disappears. But yeah, like where's she going? But yeah, any I guess we'll save star of the show and heart of the story till next week. But any reviews for this episode?
Yes, we sure do. And it's more commentary than reviews. But these are both comments from the Doctor Who subreddit. And the first one is by the user Anarchy Bites. And they said, I love how casually cruel the Rani is. It's not because she's insane or that she's kill happy. She genuinely does not give enough, just part of her nature.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like I don't fully get yet what they're doing with this version of the Ronnie, and I want to
same.
hold off any judgment until next week, I guess.
What I will say though is the actress who plays Rani, Archie Punjabi, absolutely incredible.
Oh, she's great. Yeah, perfect choice.
And this last comment review I have is by the user MLVNYY, and they said, quote, the little girl who's playing Poppy needs a raise, her own show, a BAFTA, EGOT status, and a new toy because she absolutely stole the show.
She's great. She's so great.
She is. She's the best. But overall, my thoughts on this episode are a lot of me is still waiting for next week's episode to really form my full opinion of this
Mhm.
episode and all the different aspects in this episode. Why in this episode though, in this universe, are Kate Stewart and Ibrahim still trying to be a thing? Um the last time they were mentioned, I said I'm rooting for them because everyone's gunning against them. I've changed my mind because why are they going through this much effort?
Yeah, it's like really like out of all the things, like they're still kind of a thing in this reality. It's like give me a break. But yeah, I think for me, like overall, I can like this episode and
Mhm.
visually it looks great. I love the design of John Smith's and Belinda's house. Specifically, I'm really obsessed with the wallpaper in their bedroom. I think it's so pretty, and I really love that wallpaper. And their blue kitchen is really cute.
Oh, it's
Uh,
adorable.
yeah. So I do like this. There is fundamentally something that's just not quite working. Maybe it's the pacing. Maybe it takes too long. Maybe it's the lack of characterization for John Smith. I don't really know. Let me know what you guys think or if I'm just crazy. But I think that's everything. So we will see you guys next week for the finale, The Reality War.
And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Timey Wimey Pods. We repost so many fun videos. We post our own videos, our own edits. So go check us out on both of those platforms and feel free to leave us a review on your podcast listening platform of choice or, leave us a comment on YouTube, Spotify, send us an email, all of the above.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.